That was a that was a clean one. That was probably the cleanest I've played that hit song in weeks. Bruins fans, it is time to get out. That is a 2-1 victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins in the annual NHL Winter Classic at Gillette Stadium. The first the first venue to have two Winter Classic games held at it. I don't mean that as in there were two Winter Classic games played today. I mean in that it's the first repeat venue that they've had, because the first time that they used this one in, was 2010, and they where the Bruins beat the other team from Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia Flyers, 2-1. Hey, exact same score, except that time we needed overtime and shootout, but that's beside the point. That was 12 years. That was 13 years ago at this point. Oh my God, 2010 was 13 years ago. Oh. Anyway, welcome back to Internet, everybody. I'm your host, 100 Bex, and this was a fun one. This was a I don't know if I'd really call it fun. It was more so just a really interesting one. I'm still waiting for that one game to happen, and for me to say, "Yep, this is more fun than that Rangers game earlier this season." But we still haven't gotten to it. Not even the Winter Classic has topped it yet, which kind of tells you a lot about how fun that game was with the Rangers. But the Bruins come into this game after ending 2022 with one of the worst performances that they've had all season, in that disgusting 4-3 loss against the Sabres. But hey, they're not the only one coming into this one and off of a loss, because Pittsburgh, oh boy, coming into this game, they were on a 4-game losing streak, which in an exceedingly competitive Metro division is not exactly where you want to be, and especially when in Sidney Crosby, your franchise, the best player that your franchise has had since Mario Lemieux, has not scored a point in 3 consecutive games. But hey, after today's game, that losing streak went to 5 games straight, and Crosby hasn't scored a point in the past 4 games, which is the longest streak that he's had all season of not scoring a single point. But we'll get into that in due time. Last few tidbits. Tomas Nosek is back in the lineup finally, after being injured for a good while. After being injured for a good while with a lower body injury, and honestly, I don't even know if his presence was really missed in this team. I mean, yes, he is a good defensive forward who's really good for the bottom 6 portions of the PK. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that. I feel like even without him, we would have won this game. But good that he's back. It's just good that he's back. But on top of that, looking at Twitter, I feel like a lot of people completely overestimate how old Bobby Orr is. They say Bobby Orr is going to do the opening puck pitch, where Bobby Orr just shoots a puck at Jason Varitek. The people on Twitter thought that, but I saw at least 3 people on Twitter saying, "Oh my God, Bobby Orr is still alive." I feel like as a species we've come to the. I feel like as a Generation Z has sort of come to the mutual understanding that anyone over the age of 70 has to be either hanging on for dear life, aging gracefully, or is dead, and the fact that they're still alive is just Mandela affecting or something. I don't know. Anyway, first period puck drops, and it's looking like a kind of greasy one. The Bruins can't really get a good clean entry, but but the Penguins aren't really doing anything on off. You get a couple good shifts from guys like Malkin and Gensel and Rust, but you don't really. But none of them are really breaking through at all. Especially Malkin, where on that breakaway he pretty much just wrestles the puck away from Matt Grizzly, bursts up the sideline and uh, bursts up the sideline and then just gets stoned by Allmark. But about 7 minutes in, the Bruins get a few good shifts of their own, and after a particularly strong rush, Tristan Jarry looks a little bit lopsided and like he's laboring himself just to stand back up, and he might need to come off after Jake DeBrusk and Jake Gensel trade post pingers where that's exactly what Mike Sullivan does. Is he take during the TV break, Tristan Jarry goes off and Casey Smith goes in, and honestly, I feel like that was one of the most disappointing parts of the Bruins games in this. Today. You had a goalie who could barely stand up properly for the better part of 7 minutes, and you couldn't score on him. I know that Jarry is having a good I know that Jarry's having a pretty good season, but at the same time, I feel like you should probably be able to do some damage. You could probably score at least one goal off of him when he's limping like that. And although to be fair, that could have possibly accelerated the fact in him going back to the bench, but it still would have been a goal. That's basically the tone of the first period. Both teams are trading offensive rushes, but neither team can really break the ice. Second period, puck drops and a little bit late, and like 3 minutes in, Pierre-Olivier Joseph goes to the penalty box for kind of a soft cross-checking penalty on, I think, Taylor Hall. Well, it kind of just looked like Hall was in the way of him skating, and they just decided, we're going to give him a cross-checking. But you know what? That's okay. The Bruins are on the power play, and now we're not. David Pastrnak with, by the way, quite possibly some of the best game gear of the today. From the stick that looks like it just has everything from Fenway, from the scoreboard to the to freaking Big Poppy, and the freaking, what is it? The freaking skates. Oh my god, the skates looked immaculate. With the stitching and the Fenway green stitched with the white. It looked amazing. Unfortunately, looking cool. Doesn't really matter if you can't do anything. And despite the fact that Pastrnak has the NHL record for most goals scored in outdoor games with 4, not only did he not score one today, but he also ended up just killing this power, being the reason why this power play didn't go anywhere. Because Pastrnak in a puck battle with Evgeny Malkin just decides, you know what, I'm going to go over on Malkin's left and just try to pull him down and just try and pull him off over his right shoulder. So what should be a 2-minute penalty for nothing major that we're just supposed to be like, okay, just go with it. It instead turns into a minute 50 of 4-on-4. Thankfully, neither team can really break through the ice on that, and both the penalties die. Until the Bruins go immediately right back to the penalty kill. Because right as that penalty expires, Lindholm goes for high sticking. And this just sort of exemplifies how bad the reffing in this game was kind of not great. The Bruins kill the penalty. That's not the bad part. But as they're killing the penalty, like as it's going 3-2-1 in dead, Krejci and Marchand are working their way through the neutral zone, and then they get called for offsides that wasn't offside. Marchand's skate was firmly on the blue line as the puck crossed over. And while I can understand sometimes in the heat of the moment you want to call that an offsides, 99 times out of 100 that is a call that you save for when play stops, just to that is a play for when, if there's a goal, you check that play for offsides, not one that you actually call. And I feel like honestly that should be the standard for most offsides for most offsides calls. I was like, unless it's like a Matt Duchene in how are you this offsides and not called for it play. I feel like if you're I feel like for the most part, if it's that close, you hold your whistle and you wait until play stop. So it's an offside. So it's a face off in the neutral zone because it's offsides. Anyways, Pittsburgh wins it. They shift the puck all the way down to the end boards. It's Danton Heinen Dan Heinen feeds Kasperi Kapanen and right up the gut from behind the net, and Kapanen just takes advantage of it and top shelves it against Allmark to put the game at 1-0. Now let me be clear. I am not saying that this that offside it's called was catastrophic. I'm saying that this game goes completely different if that offsides call isn't there. Although to be fair, the Bruins didn't really look that great in the second period. Anyway, I mean, it's the second period. What are you going to do? It's the second period Bruins. They always do this. They always look sloppy in the second period. I wrote down a list of my resolutions, and I can tell you right now that that be like the Bruins in the second period is not one of them. Anyway, that ends the period. So the third period starts, puck drops, and we get two really similar penalties. Is one right after another. Grzelcyk goes for tripping, I think, on Jeff Carter. That usually would end up that looks kind of like a I don't want to say a slew foot, but that's exactly what it is. It's because I don't think it was because it definitely wasn't intentional. It was just Grzelcyk's leg, Grzelcyk tripping, but with his leg behind in Carter. Bruins kill that penalty, and then not long after, Brian Dumoulin ends up going for tripping on Brad Marchand for the exact same thing. The annoying thing about this is that Dumoulin and Sullivan are trying to argue that it isn't tripping. Come on, guys. If we can admit that Grzelcyk's penalty was called for, we can also admit that Dumoulin's penalty was called for. And anyway, the Bruins can't get anything done on the penalty kill on the power play until 5 seconds after the penalty. It was kind of like one of those goals that comes like immediately after the power play, where you could conceivably still call it a power play because where you could conceivably make the argument that it's still a power play because even though there are 5 skaters on the ice, the play is so far from the skater coming on, and that they aren't even part of it, so it's practically still a 5-on-4. Yeah, that was basically this one. And Marchand feeds DeBrusk, who's right on one of the posts, and DeBrusk tries to do something akin to Tage Thompson, where he reaches across the entire crease and pots it, but he's not 6'7", so instead of doing that, he opts for the 5-hole, and he sticks it right between the wickets of Casey DeSmith to tie the game at 1. Last 5 minutes of play, we don't get the Ford F-150 Final 5 because this is a TNT broadcast, not a NESN one. God, what I would give to have a Winter Classic commentated by Jack Edwards and Andy Brickley. Anyway, Hall gets the puck from I forget who, but Hall gets the puck. He's handling it right up to the net. Tries to get past DeSmith, DeSmith does the kick save, and it goes right to DeBrusque, who chips it up and to put the Bruins up 2-1. Like Jake DeBrusque is sort of like David Pastrnak, where most of his goals are just by him being exactly where he needs to be. Pasta's office is in the left. Pasta's office is in the left face-off circle. Oh, DeBrusque's office is the right post. Anyway, the Penguins pull Casey DeSmith, and we almost get some heroics from both teams. By the way, Allmark, seeing his buddy Jeremy Swayman go for the goalie goal a few weeks ago, decides, you know what, I'm gonna do it too. He takes the puck, he chips it, and he just rainbows it all the way over to the other end of the neutral zone. It's going, it is going so wide. Like, I appreciate the effort, and I know Jim Montgomery does too, but anyone could have told you that one was never going to go in. Still, doesn't hurt to try. And in like the last minute, the Penguins get a beautiful rush, including Evgeny Malkin going for the tying goal to send it into overtime. A second and a half after the game end. The clock hits zeros, but the Penguins are still trying to go for it, and Malkin does end up potting it, but everybody knows that it's over. And after the insanity that was this past weekend with the Bruins community day plaza thing, and then this and then in the and the loss against the Sabres, and then in this Winter Classic, they've earned this 2-game rest. Especially because after this, they're going on a 3-game road trip out west. Their first game of it being on the being against the LA Kings on the 5th, and then on a back-to-back, we have them going against the San Jose Sharks on the 7th, and the Ducks on the 8th. Maybe use public transit out there just to reduce the amount of emissions going around, because planet's kind of dying, and LA is awful with traffic. But after that West Coast road trip, everyone's got a good 3 days rest. Everyone's getting the 9th, 10th, and 11th off. And they deserve it. I mean, this team deserves all the kudos you can give them. And they're effectively they are effectively, I think, 19-0-3 at home. Because I mean, this is done at Fenway. It's a de facto home game for the Bruins, just because it's like a few, I don't know. Fenway is 3 miles from the Garden. It's not like we're gonna. It's not like the home team has to play in South Bend like the Blackhawks did a few years ago against us. But the Bruins are still in good shape, and it's good to say that. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Down there is the like button. Up over there is my is my channel. Up there is my most recent video. Down there is my twitch.tv. Check it out for my next stream. Probably going to be tomorrow. And I will see you guys on the 5th. Take care.